podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.
Hi and welcome to the Paddock and the Pavilion with me, your host, Stephen Wallace. As promised, I have more Ashes talk for you today with Ashes all around the world. I will take you on a journey to Argentina, Brazil, England, Japan, Scotland and the United States to discover how 4 international cricketers, a Fairbreak manager and a young sports vlogger watched this summer's Women's Ashes. Our first guest on Ashes all around the world is Rosa Simkin of Rosa Talks Ball. How did you get to follow the Women's Ashes, Rosa?
I was lucky enough to attend 3 of the games. I headed to the first day of the Test match at Trent Bridge, the T20 at Edgbaston, and the final ODI at Taunton. And all of the other games I followed on Sky. So I've had my eyes on this one for sure.
Before we get into a bit of detail, what was the atmosphere like at the games?
It was unbelievable. I mean, we were expecting it to be good when we headed to Edgbaston, but I think it's one of the best atmospheres I've ever been in at a sporting event, men's or women's. Everyone was so in voice. It was electric. They were clapping every single, you felt like everyone was truly behind the team, and that felt quite special.
Because over 100,000 people watched the 7 matches, I think, yeah.
Yeah, it's incredible. I mean, I think it's something which over the past couple of years, the ECB has really been building for, with the 100 and the attendance for that. And also off the back of the Lionesses at the Euros, I think that gave women's sport a boost in general. And the biggest thing is this series and the Ashes as a whole has been billed as 2 Ashes. It's one series. It's the men's Ashes and the women's Ashes are happening at the same time. And I think that excitement which the ECB has built through that campaign has got the bums on the seats. And it's incredible to see that we're finally getting the crowds which these players deserve.
Let's get your thoughts now on the multi-format series.
I mean, I think there's something quite special about both teams, the fight they both put in throughout the series. I mean, Australia and England both could have won that Test match. I think they were both in winning positions, but Australia edged it. Then you had the T20 at Edgbaston, which was lost by England by a couple of runs. And being 6-0 down, they could have very easily turned around and said, there's no chance, why would we keep fighting? But they did keep fighting. And then they were in a position where they could have won it, which was, I don't think anyone would have believed you at the beginning when you said you could be in a winning position now. And to then go from 6-0 down to drawing 8-all with a team which does not lose. Australia have been dominant in the women's game for so long. So I think it's a lot of testament to this current England side that they were able to come up with that and go toe to toe with them.
What did you think then to the fact that we won both the T20 series and the ODI series and the point system?
I mean, first of all, I was very excited when we were on the T20 series. I think it's huge for mentality because we've always had the skill to beat Australia. It's just that whenever we've played them in major tournaments, all the players have gone, ooh, it's Australia. That's difficult. And they've kind of never been able to climb that mountain of that mentality mountain. But in terms of the point system, I think it does need to be looked at. To win 4 or 7 games and 2 white ball series and not come away with the Ashes is quite something. I also think that if there's going to be a Test match involved, it shouldn't be at the start. It either needs to be in the middle or the end of the series, because it has at the moment, it's gold dust, 4 points to the others 2. If you win that game, you're already in a winning position in the series. And that's up to you to keep that or lose that.
Especially now we're playing 5-day Test matches, you're more liable to get a result.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, previously it didn't really matter because, like, 4 days, weather, most of them ended up in draws and you were very unlikely to get a result. But now we've got this fifth day, which is absolutely vital and is so good to see. It does mean a result is going to follow. So we need to react to that in the way it's pointed, scored, in the way it's scored, and also, again, the scheduling and the order.
Well, who was your player of the series, and can you sort of give your thoughts on some of the key players in the series?
I think there's been quite a few key players. I mean, Amy Jones behind the stumps is one. I honestly think without her contributions, we wouldn't have really come close. Um, Especially in that last game, that stumping was unbelievable. Obviously, Ash Gardner, an absolutely world-class player, and her ability to change her pace when she's bowling is absolutely lethal. I mean, she took 23 wickets over the series, and she took a free throw in all of the ODIs, which is quite consistent for a spin bowler as well. So she was definitely really key for Australia, and she also scored some really key runs and was really exciting to watch. And then you had the likes of Heather Knight and Kate Cross, who obviously kept us in that ODI. You know, they got us over the line. Kate Cross with her drives and her scoop shots. But I think it would be rude not to say that my player of the series is Nat Brunt. I mean, how does she do it? Every single series, she seems to be a standout. She's honestly not human. I mean, it's been a difficult time for her against Australia. She's constantly formed and us not get results. I mean, her 111 not out in the second ODI where we fell 3 runs short, you know, like that was another performance which should have had a result and she deserved a result for that. And then that 129 came afterwards, consecutive hundreds, which is what got us over the line. You know, so she is definitely my standout player of the series.
And it must be good for the women's game as a whole that the Australians were beaten and there's more competition, because I think they'd won, was it 42 out of 43 ODIs before this series?
Yeah, for sure. It's all mentality. I think they're all teams when they come up against Australia, there's kind of this they're miles ahead mentality, and they are in some ways. They were so much more professional as a nation before everyone else. But I think it's been crucial. I mean, Ireland, they're currently playing Ireland. Ireland have watched us play them and will be thinking, we have a chance. Why don't we have a chance? We can go up against this team and we can beat them. And it's huge that gap is closing, because the more competitive the game becomes, the more viewers it will get and the more investment it will get.
So looking ahead to the next Ashes in about 2.5 years time, another close series and a possible England victory.
I think definitely. I think obviously it's in Australia, so they'll have the advantage that time, and I really hope that they utilise the home advantage like England did and get fans in the stands. But I think England have a real chance now. Also going into the World Cups now, next year, as an example, they now have this mentality as a team that they can win matches. They've always had that skill. They can do it. So I wouldn't be surprised if we had an England victory down under.
Let's end with this Ashes all around the world episode with someone who was watching the Ashes in England. What was your favourite memory of this year's Women's Ashes?
Probably witnessing Ant Taunton, that Nat Brunt 100. It was an exceptional innings, the partnership she held with Heather Knight as well. And it was also really nice that it came off and that it actually led to a victory for once. And you could tell how thrilled she was, how thrilled the team was. The crowd were electric when she scored those runs to get to it. So definitely being there in Taunton and seeing that 100.
I then made the short trip via Zoom, of course, to Scotland, where I spoke to Sue Strachan, who had just finished a game of squash. Sue is an ex-president of Cricket Scotland and was the Sapphires manager at the 2023 Fairbreak Invitational event. After our chat, Sue was due to cycle home before her evening game of tennis. Sue is all action and always gives some excellent insights into women's cricket. Sue, where did you get to watch the Women's Ashes?
In my living room, Stephen. It's a bit of a long trek down from Scotland because they never play very far north. I could do with maybe Women's Ashes having at least one game at Durham, but not this year, sadly. So in my living room, on tenterhooks, watching the games. It was, I wished I was there. The atmosphere came across as being superb, and what a feast of women's cricket.
So were you cheering for England?
Yes, of course I was. Even though I'm a Scot, of course I was cheering for England. Most of the time.
So what were your thoughts then of this exciting Ashes series?
Well, I think the pressure of being unbeaten, I think, is quite underrated. It's quite tough in Australia being that unbeaten team that everybody's shooting at, really. And I think that showed. And I think that England really took the game to them, and it was great to see. And, with the skills, the standard, it's amazing what giving people more time on task, better facilities, better support, better sports science, all of the above can do for the standard of cricket. And that is very clear to see in women's cricket, particularly, I think, the fielding. The standard of fielding has gone up so much in the last few years, and it's just a great game to watch now. Whatever format you like best, I enjoy them all for different reasons.
Why did you think England were able to draw 8-all?
Well, I think that, like I say, I think the pressure on Australia is much harder being the people that are defending a record than the people that are trying to knock those people off. I think they had a really good team atmosphere. And I think that the growth of the women's game in England and the regional setup now is bringing so many players through that there's more players at a higher standard, and competition is very high to get into that team or that squad. And I don't think hardly anybody's place is safe. So that's a great incentive to play your best cricket.
So you think the gap has got closer now between England and Australia?
Yeah, I don't think there was much of a gap. I think Australia has always been a little bit ahead of England in their women's cricket setup, from grassroots all the way through. But I think that England have upped their game. There's no doubt about that. They've upped the game of developing the women's and girls' game within the country, and also the support and also the use of top-class facilities for the women's game has made a big difference. They're used to now playing on good wickets with nice lightning-fast outfields. So all of that makes it easier to perform at your best level when you're in the big moments.
Without going into any detail in sort of statistics of players, which players stood out for you in the multi-format series?
I think Lauren Bell was really impressive. Kate Cross, that girl can bat, I said as she went in, and then scooped the ball beautifully. But Nat Severbrunt has to be the standout. What a superb cricketer she is. And she's such a lovely person as well, but what a superb cricketer. And a lot of girls, women that are now big game people. So Tammy Beaumont has responded really well to having been dropped at times. She's gone, right, okay, what do I have to work on? Elise Perry is very similar. Elise Perry, what a superb cricketer she is, and a superb athlete. But, they dropped her for a while, so she went back and she worked on her game, and she worked on her game, and she worked her way back in. And I think that the players that have responded well to that sort of situation are the most impressive ones to me. And also, some of the newcomers, Lauren Filer, very impressive, very exciting young cricketer, did so well on the big stage. And just, Phoebe Litchfield, I obviously saw her at Fairbreak. What a beautiful technique, what a beautiful batter she is. And she, although she didn't have standout performances, she's one to watch for the future as well.
Yes, you came across some of the players at Fairbreak, didn't you, this year?
Yes. I think Phoebe was the standout player that we saw at Fairbreak. She announced herself on the world stage through Fairbreak, I think. It's great technique. She's lovely to watch as a batter. Just lovely, lovely technique. A bit like watching Joe Root in the men's game. It's just a joy to watch somebody who has such lovely technique.
England lost the test match, but did you like the idea of a 5-day test match?
Yes. Yeah, I think if you're going to play a test match, I think you want to get a result, and you want to give the women and girls the same opportunities as you give the men. So if you're going to have 5-day test matches, everyone should have 5-day test matches. And I think perhaps luckily, it was just a superb match. And I think it made the case for the 5 days, definitely.
But all in all, an Ashes to remember.
Yes, for lots of different reasons. I think for me, I actually had that feeling that maybe finally we're getting there for women's sport, and it's not just the football. I had that feeling. I'm 59 now, and I'm so tired of women's sport being hidden, not getting much interest in the mainstream media, only it being assumed that only women want to watch women's sport. And here we are, build it and they will come. I think Isha or Mel said that on comms, build it properly and people will watch it. And it has been so entertaining and so inspiring for young girls. It actually made the case for a young female athletic girl picking cricket as a sport which uses your athleticism, which teaches you skills, which gives you joy. I think that's one of the most important things that you see probably in most women's sports, certainly women's team sport. You see the joy that women have of playing at a higher and higher level, but you see the skill development, and you see that actually cricket is now a definitely worthwhile choice for a young female athlete. And that's just brilliant. And that it's entertaining for everybody to watch.
Well, thank you very much, Sue, for joining us on this podcast of Ashes all around the world. Great to speak to someone with a sight screen in the background.
The beautiful Dumfries Cricket Club.
Yeah, on a dry day in Scotland.
Yes, the sun is out. They're cutting the square, and all is well with the world.
Well, I'll find out what the weather's like when I speak to other guests in Argentina and Brazil later.
Lovely.
Next up on Ashes All Around the World is former Japanese international left-arm spinner Shizuka Miyaji. Shizuka played for the Spirit at the 2023 Fairbreak Invitational event in Hong Kong. Shizuka, how did you follow the Women's Ashes in Japan?
We can watch Women's Ashes ICC TV for free in Japan.
So what was the time difference for the games? Were you able to watch them live?
No, it was very hard to watch all games because there is 8 hours time difference between Japan and the UK. So I always watch the first inning or to the tea. Yeah, so I didn't have I didn't have a chance to watch a T20 because start too late, maybe at 2 a.m. in Japan. But I watched a test match and ODI.
Were some of the other Japanese players that you know watching the matches as well?
Yeah, I think a lot of girls try to watch if they can woke up late, but a bit hard to watch because a lot of girls work during weekdays. So yeah, someone maybe could be.
But were you able to chat to other Japanese cricketers and friends about what was going on?
I always talked with my husband. He is a Scottish and Japanese half, and he also played for Japan for 15 years.
So he was a good sounding board to talk about then.
Yeah, always.
So what did you think to the action? Were you surprised with the 8-all score?
Yeah, I really excited to watch a 5-day test because always 4 days for women's, but 5 days are really good because Australia won. Yeah, always draw and if test match played 4 days. So 5 days test is amazing.
So you like the 5-day element of it?
Yeah, 5 days good.
But the actual result of the whole multi-format series, were you surprised with the 8-all score?
Yeah, after finish all games, 8 point and 8 point. So really excited series because England won T20 and the ODI series, and maybe in Australia lost the T20 series since 2017, I think.
Yeah, they haven't lost many. I mean, they only lost one. I think they'd lost one white ball game out of about 42 or something, only before the series started. Yeah. So who were the players that stood out for you during the series?
Yeah, always Sophie Eccleston. She's my superstar. But very good to watch Natsiva Brand batting. Yeah, because she scored 4 centuries last 5 innings against Australia.
Is she someone you admire? Have you ever bowled to Natsiva Brunt?
No. I bowled to Catherine Sivabrant in Fairbreak in Hong Kong this year.
That's a lot easier than Natsiva Brunt, though.
I don't think so. She's too good.
Talking about Sophie Eccleston, you played with her at the Spirit, didn't you, in Fairbreak? And how would you have liked to in the Test match? I looked up and Sophie Eccleston bowled 77 overs. How would you fancy bowling 77 overs?
Can't imagine. Too many overs. Must be tired. But she always took wicket for England, and she took 8 wickets.
She got 10 wickets in the Test match.
10 wickets, yeah. So she is always too good. Amazing.
What was she like to play with?
She always bowl really spin, and she always bowl stump to stump and change pace. So really nice to watch her bowling on TV. A lot of learning from her.
Going back to the end result, do you think it was or is good for the game that the Australians have been beaten?
I thought that England could beat Australia in Test match. but Ash Gardner was too good. She took 8 wickets in second inning.
Yeah, in the second inning she got 8. Yeah.
Yeah. I think so. Spain is so good to play on the tough pitch in Test match.
Do you think that with the series being 8-all, it's good for the women's game that the Australians are now beatable?
Yeah, because Australia is always too good, but England played really, really well because 8.8 point. Looks draw, but not draw.
So who would be your player of the series?
I think not Siva Brandt.
Overall, have you got a favourite memory of the 2023 Ashes?
Yeah, as I said before, I really impressed with not Siva Brandt batting because I know her really well because her parents live in Japan. Her mom is an ambassador for British Embassy in Japan. So sometimes I play with her dad. So I know her really, really well. I met her in Japan as well.
Oh, I didn't know that. That's a good connection, isn't it?
Yeah. It is, yeah.
Across the Atlantic we go for our next guest, Sins Sriharsha, the current USA women's captain. Sins also led the Warriors to victory at this year's Fairbreak Invitational event. Sins, how did you follow the women's Ashes in America?
Well, I'm glad that it was at a time that it was, acceptable time zone. It was good to wake up in the morning and still have some cricket to watch. The way I've set up my workplace, I work professionally as well, full time. Is that right now I'm in front of the laptop, but behind that is a huge TV screen that's always on with some cricket on. So I follow any cricket that's on TV. So Ashes was a great series that I watched throughout the span of about 6 weeks, which was amazing. I could catch on most of it because it was quite early in the morning where I was on my laptop working, but I could still follow it on TV here. And it does stream on Willow for us, which was great as well.
So you managed to keep abreast of what was going on then?
Oh, yes, definitely. Yeah, we do. All of our USA cricketers, some of us are crazy cricket watchers. So we have our own WhatsApp group and we're constantly talking during the work as well, trying to see like, hey, did you follow this? Did you follow that? And it's like constantly chatting with each other about the happenings of the Ashes itself. Yes, followed all of the games, was involved in it. I missed a couple of them because I did have a few games that I had to travel to Seattle, but I was still following this course online.
Now, you've played with Phoebe Litchfield in Fairbreak, and you've obviously played against some of the England players, Danny Wyatt and Sophia Dunkley, of 2 in the Fairbreak event. Who were you cheering for?
Phoebe, all the time, Phoebes. Yeah, I was just glad to know her as a person when she came over to Fairbreak. She's lovely to bat with. I've had a couple of, partnerships with her during Fairbreak. It felt like we were batting in 2 different pitches. She made batting look so easy. She's amazing, the person that she is and also the batter that she is. Great talent. Looking forward to what she can offer to Australia going in the future. But amazing. But I always kept cheering for Phoebes the entire time.
What about the cricket? Did you think it was a fair score, 8-all?
Bit controversial, but loved it that England gave a fight. Loved that it's multi-format. I think Test cricket there showed us why it was so important for Australia to get those 4 points on the board, and it was a good thing that we made it a 5-day test. If it was a 4-day test, we wouldn't have been able to get the results that we got. So we can see everything actually mattered at the end, how it all spanned out. The 4-day test was now moved to 5-day test, which gave Australia the 4 points, which eventually got them to retain the Ashes. So I think love that multi-format. What it provides for the viewers as well is that it constant up and lows, and then you're following one team and you see the other team coming back stronger. Amazing turnaround from England from where they were so 6-0 to come back and actually level the series. So I think we loved it, and watching it from outside, I'm sure even the players who were competing there, me being an athlete, I know how it feels to be down under and come back and challenge a team like Australia. So England did extremely well on that. The score, I think, was fair enough to say that both the teams had their ups and lows. And at the end of it, proves that no one team came out as the winner of everything. So, which is, amazing to see that we have two quality teams battling it out there.
And as the USA captain, did you have some sympathy for Alyssa Healy with all the things she had to do, keep wicket, open the batting, captain the side?
Yeah, I'm a keeper, batter, and a captain, so I know exactly how it is to do all three departments. But I, personally, I love it, and I think I'm more switched on as a keeper and also leading. I think it's like the perfect position to be in to get the view of the entire game. So I actually love it. There have been times when I have been handed over the captaincy when I'm fielding and I completely feel out of place. Absolutely no idea how to get the angles right for the field placements. But I think, Healy, given that what Meg Lanning brings into the team itself, her leadership, it did come out to see in the end that Australia probably missed Meg Lanning's leadership in the few games that that happened towards the end of the Ashes. But Healy did the best that she could, and we all know what kind of a player she is and what she brings into the team. So amazing for Healy to stand up to that. And at the end of it, she did say, "Hey, they're taking back the urn, right?" So I think she got the job done the best way that she could.
And who for you were the standout players from the two sides?
Oh, a lot of names. I feel like, at the end of the series, they did, say Ash Gardner and, Nat Silverbrandt as the player of the series, but we cannot forget the rest of them as well. Like, I feel like Perry stood out, like Ellis Perry stood out in all three formats. I know she's often, probably picked down for her strike rate in the ODIs or in the T20s, but I think she was very versatile this series. The way she came back and performed in all three formats. Sutherland, I think what she's been offering to the team, and almost feel like she's like a mini Perry now. She's turning out to be a great all rounder. Loved her performance as well. So many others too. Eccleston, always being consistent as well, and Tammy Beaumont, like the 200 and the Ashes. So I feel like there's no one standout performer. Of course, there was the women of the series called out in the end, but player of the series. But I still feel like there were so many others. I'm a big fan of Beth Mooney as well, so she did stand out in a few of the innings as well. So a lot of people to watch and a lot of people to learn from. That is why they are the best two teams, where they have 11 match winners on a given day. So I think that's what makes them the team that they are, both the teams.
A great advert, though, for the women's game.
Oh, yes, definitely. Look at they had full stadiums for almost all of the games, especially the shorter formats, and great to see that everywhere it has been accepted. And it also goes back to the level and the quality of the game that we are putting up on the field, that that's making everybody notice us. So let's not take away from what the girls have been doing, the pioneers of this. What it's because of them that we're able to pull in the crowd today. And
what plans personally have you got for USA cricket for the rest of 2023?
We do have our Americas scheduled in September. That's like the tournament for all of the Americas, the South Americas and North Americas qualifiers. The winners of this get to go to the global qualifiers, which then qualifies them to World Cup. So this definitely is our main tournament that we are all prepping for. I actually head out to nationals next week, where the top 4 teams within the region, compete together to make it to the final 14 of the USA national team. So definitely at the peak of my season, prepping for that. The Americas is in probably 4 weeks from now. So yes, at the peak of my season right now.
And USA women's cricket is on the up.
Yes, yes, definitely he's on the up. The under-19 national team made it to the World Cup this year in January, so that's been great, and a lot of youngsters coming onto the group because of that, because of the under-19 exposure and that opportunity to make that World Cup. So we've definitely seen a lot more girls that have come into the system now, and great talent. And most of these cricketers are now taking decisions with their college based on how much cricket they want to play. They're choosing to go to community college so that they could continue playing cricket as well. So the decisions are being made for cricket, which is a good thing to see.
Well, that's all good news, and thanks for joining us, and best of luck for the rest of the year for the USA.
Thank you so much.
Our final two guests are from South America. Recent rivals on the pitch, our penultimate guest is Argentina's fast-medium bowler Mariana Martinez. While last but not least, it's time for Roberta Moretti Avery, the Brazilian captain and a regular on the Paddock and the Pavilion. Hello, Mariana. Thanks for joining me on
Stephen.
The Paddock and the Pavilion.
Thank you very much for calling me to be there. To be here, sorry.
We're talking about Ashes all around the world. How did you watch the women's Ashes?
Actually, it was on the weekends most of the times, and we were training with the girls, and sometimes we had one phone that we reached and we saw how was the game going from the ICC TV. And sometimes I was at home and I woke up really early to see the game, and it was so interesting at first, but the test match was really difficult. But yeah, I was maybe at home and woke up early, or we were training and we had a cell phone and we were like, how is the game going? How is Australia? How is England? So we were like that with all the team.
So the other players got engaged in watching it as well?
Oh yeah. We're in the group. We have a group that is called Flamingos, because the Argentinian team is called Flamingos. And we were saying like, did you see the catch of Danny Wyatt? Did you see the catch of Sophia Ecclestone? It was like, oh, there's another wicket from England. So they were all tied because the Ashes were like that. They were all the time tied up. So it was surprising.
Were you surprised with the result at all?
Actually, I was. Yeah. At first, I was really like, oh, I wanted maybe a little bit of fight. We were speaking with the girls that now Australia has it. Australia definitely 100% has it. But then England was like, boom, woke up from the nightmares. They woke up, and they're starting fighting, and they're starting putting the fight in the field, and that was really when we engaged even more. Even though Australia said that they had that gap, England didn't make us saw that the gap that Australia said they had. I think the England level was amazing. It was inspiring to see. With the girls, we were chatting like, we have like so many, and we want to go to the nets now. We want to go and play a cricket game right now. Like seeing that, I think no, it didn't surprise me. That it was so tied up. At first, I thought Australia would win, but then no, I thought England would win the Ashes.
Which players inspired you the most on both sides?
From England's side, Danny Wyatt was exceptional in the field during the batting. Exceptional. She was fearless. Sorry. She was fearless in the field. It was something that I, when she needed to do the batting, she did the 75 runs, if I'm not wrong. And that was incredible to see as well. She had the run out from the boundary that was exceptional as well. And from the Australian part, I think Ashley Gardner was amazing with the bowling as well. As well with the batting, but with the bowling, she was absolutely incredible. So yeah, I think from both sides it was like that.
And you played with Phoebe Litchfield in Fairbreak.
I did, yeah. I mean, she's a really funny girl. She got a lot of energy, and when I saw her coming to the field, I was like, yeah, come on, please do 50, 100, everything. I was trying to maybe send a message like all the best, but I was really scared to maybe send that message because I don't know. But when I saw her, I was like, yeah, it's their game, it's her game, but she will have her games. Maybe it was not the best tournament, but it's really good that she has experience. She's really young. She's starting to play in Australia, and as an open batter, it's really difficult to be an open batter. Not everyone can be an open batter, so she definitely has the talent to be there. So she deserves the spot, and she will definitely be much better than this tournament. But I think it's really good experience.
What's plans now for you, Mariana, with the Argentina team?
Now we have the qualifiers, the Americas qualifiers in Los Angeles, USA, and we're playing against Canada, USA, and Brazil. So we're trying to have maybe a spot there. We trust in our team, we trust in our level. We are working really hard. But yeah, the preparation is good to be. It's good to be now working with the things that our coach is in the project, and we're having a different mentality. So yeah, we have that.
So you'll be playing against one of the other guests on this podcast, Roberta Moretti Avery.
Yeah, a really inspiring woman. When we play against her, she has such a personality in the field and out the field. I think in the field it is a completely different woman in the way that the energy that she managed with the team. You can see how competitive it is. Like, she wants to be competitive, even though she's not looking for results. Maybe you can see that she's going for everything, and she's going to eat you if they need it. She's going to eat you as a team. So that's good to see, because you're not playing with like anyone. You're playing against Roberta. So that's good to see.
But finally, the Women's Ashes 2023, a great inspiration for cricketers in Argentina.
Yeah, it was. The Ashes was. I think we were waiting for that tournament for cricketers in Argentina as women to see it, and we were saying Ashes is coming, Women's Ashes is coming, England against Australia. This is going to be really fun. And the most thing that I really have as a memory or as an inspiration from this is that even though we wanted to train before, now we want to be in the field 24/7. Like, after that, we want to be not like England, not like Australia, but that kind of fun that they have in the field, that kind of fire that they have in the field. Australia against England, like, we want to be like that. We want to be playing every single game and not be tied like that, not be in I don't know, the skills that they have. Just be like, I don't know, when you saw every single ball and you thought, this ball can be a wicket, this ball can be a four, this ball can be a six. That kind of cricket that you don't know what's going to happen in the next ball. That's what we have from the Ashes. It was so inspiring for us.
Well, thank you very much, Mariana, for being on the show.
No, thank you very much for reminding me. I'm really pleased to be here again.
Hello, Roberta. Welcome back to the Paddock and the Pavilion.
Hello, it's so nice to be here with you again.
Well, thanks for finding the time amongst your busy training on this episode about watching Ashes all around the world. Where did you get to watch the women's Ashes?
Well, actually, it's a little bit less busy now because the Ashes have finished, but we were watching it everywhere. We have a TV in the training center. The TV was always on in the Ashes. I was watching at home, every lunchtime, tea time, whatever time we had available. The whole team was pretty much following everything, which was pretty cool. But on Sunday, when we had a second ODI, I actually canceled all my plans just to make sure that I was watching the game full time. It has been very good to have it broadcasted here in Brazil.
So was it easy to watch in Brazil? Was it live on telly?
Not live on telly. We don't have cricket live here yet, but it was on ICC TV app. So we were able to put on the app and connect it to our TVs. So it was easy and free to access for everyone. So I guess that's why we had so many people talking about the Ashes this time.
Oh, so the team were all involved watching and following the games?
Not only the Brazilian women's team, but the men's, the under 19s, under 15s. I was having a meeting here in the training center, and behind me, there was like the whole of the under 15 teams watching the game that was on telly while I was having the meeting. It was so cool because it's how they find their role models, isn't it? How they see what level of cricket they can maybe one day achieve in their lives. And it was very easy and free to access.
And were you cheering for England?
Of course. Don't tell the Australians.
Because you played...
My dog is called Jimmy Anderson. I am a big fan of Heather Knight. It's impossible to not support England. Although I do admire a lot the Australian team. I love them. But I thought that the winning streak had to come to an end. The competition between two teams has to be good. The gap has to be closed. So I think it was an amazing tournament to watch.
Yeah. How were the dogs, just going back? Were they watching?
When I was at home on Sunday, all the dogs were with me. And when I was watching the men's Ashes with at home, every time Jimmy Anderson would bowl, I would tell Jim the dog Anderson that he was bowling. So it was an interesting experience.
Well, this podcast is about the women's Ashes, so we've still got Jimmy Anderson. We can get him on anyway because he's one of your dogs, and the other one's Stuart Broad. But what then were your thoughts on the series? Were you surprised that England drew the series 8-all?
I was not surprised. I knew that I had potential to be competing against Australia. The way they have been playing cricket on the John Lewis area has been very good. It just needed to click. And I think, although they didn't play their best cricket, it shows that they are able to compete versus the best team of the world, and shows the potential that this English team has. There's a lot of young players coming through, and it was so good because every game was a close call. Pretty much every game was a close call. And for me, it had a sweet feeling to have this tournament drew, although it was 6-0 after 2 games. So, yeah, I think it was very good to have 2 white ball win series for England. I can't wait for the next games and the next tournament. I think it's going to be very good.
Which players caught your eye?
You cannot not talk about Nat Silverbrandt. She is unbelievable. It's amazing how good she can be under pressure. I think just to watch Lauren Filler bowl on the test, pace, coming, no fear, just this youth drive. It was so good to see her bowl. I think I stopped to watch every single one of her overs, just to see that excitement and that danger and that something new coming through. I'm a huge fan of Elise Perry, and I'm a huge fan of Beth Mooney. I love the way they bat, the way they think of their games, the way that Elise Perry was 9-9 on the first innings on the test, like so easy, so beautiful to see. And come on, Sophie Ecclestone, isn't it? Don't you love to watch her bowl every single time? So there were a lot of players that were on the radar most of the time. But overall, the series has been amazing.
I guess players like Lauren Feiler are the players that inspire young Brazilians.
Actually, Yes, of course, because she's new, she's fresh, she's different, she hasn't been in the scenes. But I have a lot of players here talking about Sophie Ecclestone, her catches, her spinning. There are a lot of players here talking about Capsi, although Capsi didn't have the greatest tournaments, but she's young as well. She's coming through. There's a lot of Kate Cross fans. So I guess there are different people relate to different players. But the most important thing is they're looking at these games, they're watching these games, and they are finding people who that are relatable to them. I think that's going to be the same feeling that you're going to have in other countries. They're going to look at these players and say, you know what? I want to bat like them. I want to bowl like them. I want to field like them. And that's what matters.
And personally, you played with Heather Knight at Fairbreak in 22, sorry.
Yeah, 22, yes. Yeah, I love Heather Knight. I think she's a very down-to-earth captain, a very honest to herself person. I love that she had that very good partnership with Nat Silverbrunt. And how she adapts her game. I think she's very smart, and I'll keep always watching her, following her, and supporting her and I know she deserves every single thing that is coming towards the team now, because they work bloody hard on getting the team on a very competitive place again. And the next World Cup, the next Ashes are going to be very good for the team.
You liked 5 days for the test match?
Of course. Imagine if that test match was not 5 days. Imagine if we had 4 days again. We wouldn't have that last day competitiveness. Women's cricket deserves 5 days tests. And I think that was a great way to start the Ashes campaign.
Your favourite memory then of the Women's Ashes 2023 in Brazil?
It has to be Kate Cross scoring the last runs to win with Heather Knight. And come on, Heather Knight is a person that is very composed, and her throwing her bat, fist pumping Kate Cross, shouting in the middle of the pitch. That sort of raw emotion is not something that we usually see from her. So for me to see that shows how much it matters, how much they are fighting for it. And that last clip is still on my mind. And I love that it happened. And I love that it happened with Kate Cross, which is a person that has so many battles and still finds a way of loving the game and sharing that passion with the whole world.
Personally, we mentioned it earlier on the show, you are busy and you've been busy. You've not long since played against Argentina in a T20 series.
Yes, we played against them about 30, 40 days ago. They came to Brazil for a 5-game series. It's very important for the region that we play more international games. So the youth and the new players start getting more experience. That happened in preparation for the ICC World Cup T20 qualifiers. That is going to happen in 38 days. So I think it's extremely important that we play more cricket. So it was a great experience. And we had a lot of kids that are in the projects, in grassroots projects, come and watch us. And it's good because the participation in the projects after the series increased with girls. So it's good to see the new girls coming and watching us and finding role models, local role models, and wanting to play more cricket.
But Ashes series like we just had can only inspire more women to play cricket all around the world.
Of course. It's all about finding role models and giving opportunity of play. And we are giving opportunity of play, and Ashes is bringing the role models, inspiration, and showing what the best ones in the world are doing. So I think that's a great combination to inspire girls and boys, not only girls. Like I said, the other 15 boys were watching and talking about Sophie Ecclestone. So it's inspiring people to play cricket.
Well, thank you very much again for joining us.
You're more than welcome anytime.
That's it from my guests all around the world. As I said in the intro, women's cricket is a global game which keeps growing. It's been a lot of fun making this podcast, finding out how through phones, laptops and WhatsApp groups, players all around the world have been following the Women's Ashes. Don't forget we have more Ashes to come on the show with extra shows from the Silver Ashes, while Roland Butcher will soon be back to review the 2023 Men's Ashes series. But this show would not have been possible without the time given to me by all my guests. Catch their passion and their love of the game. Find out their heroes, the players that inspire them. Enjoy Ashes all around the world.
Sports Social Podcast Network.
Oh, geez, Dad, not the car again.
Oh, happens all the time with old Betsy.
Have you checked out Carvana yet? They have thousands of cars for under $20,000.
But do those thousands of cars have personality like old Betsy?
Betsy's held together by tape. And there are raccoons living in the engine.
Psh, it's a family car.
There are flames on the hood?
Custom paint job.
No, Dad, the car's on fire.
How many cars did you say Carvana had?
Visit Carvana.com to shop thousands of cars for under $20,000. We'll drive you happy at Carvana.